Hey, what if you woke up tomorrow to find 20% of your paycheck gone legally? Today, I'm going to show you how to stop a wage garnishment before it ever starts, so you can keep all of your pay. Coming up in this video, you'll learn 3 key things. First, how you could get a wage garnishment. We will discuss the legal domino effect from missed payment to a court order served on your employer. Next, we will discuss who can garnish your wages, and for your information, banks are not the only ones that can garnish your wages. Lastly, we'll discuss your legal options to stop a wage garnishment. Everything from negotiating with creditors to seeking a formal insolvency option. Stick around, knowing this can mean the difference between losing part of your paycheck or keeping the full amount. Best to think of a wage garnishment like what happens if you don't pay your traffic ticket, but for your unsecured debts like a credit card or a line of credit. If you have many outstanding tickets and fines and don't pay them, then eventually the city will want to get paid and may do something about it. So they could send a tow truck to pick up your vehicle until you pay off your fines. The city will have now gotten your attention by holding your vehicle until you pay off the fines. Wage garnishment is no different, except for the city taking your vehicle, the bank will take a portion of your paycheck. First, it is important to spot the warning signs. Wage garnishments don't usually happen overnight. They usually take time, and there can be lots of warning signs before they happen. Okay, so here's how it could play out, so you can catch it early. First, you stop paying a creditor for whatever reason. Maybe you don't have enough money to pay them, or you just forgot about the debt. Next, a month or 2 go by, nothing happening. Then, by the 3rd month with no payment, you start getting calls from the bank to request payment towards your debt. Now, if you ignore them, they will probably next send emails or mail to your home with demand letters for immediate payment and threatening to take legal action. They may also refer your debt to a debt collector who will likely take even more aggressive steps than the bank. If you still ignore them, the creditor may get really annoyed because they want to get paid before the debt becomes statute barred, and they will be legally prevented from collecting your debt. Then they will likely hire a lawyer to file a statement of claim in court for your debts owed, which they will send to you by registered mail. At this point, you have 21 days to respond to the claim. You can respond to the creditor that they have the wrong amount, or you've already paid off the debt, or whatever reason why you shouldn't think you pay off this debt. But best to do something at this point. Miss a deadline, and the judge usually just grants a judgment against you as you have failed to defend yourself. With the judgment in hand, the creditor will then either place a writ on your home, so when you sell your home, they will get paid from the proceeds plus any accumulated interest to date. If you don't own a home, then they will likely use a court order to garnish your wages by serving the garnishment notice on your employer. Your employer will then be legally obligated to garnish up to 20% from your gross wages in Ontario and remit this to the creditor. Now, your next paycheck is 20% lighter as your employer will hold these funds and remit them to your creditor until the debt is paid in full. Also, keep in mind the legal costs and court fees get tacked onto your debt. Suddenly, you owe more than you originally owed. As an example, I had a client who just ignored these notices from the lender for a $10,000 credit card debt, and the lender obtained a garnishment against him as he ignored all the notices. Afterwards, every pay had a 20% deduction from it, which was paid to the lender. This was a lot more money than the minimum payments he could have paid for the credit card balance before he got into this situation. I was able to help him and get the garnishment stopped, which I will discuss later, but this whole garnishment situation should have never happened. That's why when you see these signs, it's best to avoid ignoring them and take action right away. Or you could find your paycheck 20% lighter. So who can garnish your wages? Most of the time it is a bank that will apply for a judgment to garnish your wages, but really anyone can do this. Car loan company, landlord, payday loan company, even the Canada Revenue Agency. Oh, let's talk about the CRA. So they can garnish your wages if you have unpaid taxes, and they don't need a court order if you don't pay them. They can just issue a requirements to pay letter to your employer. If you own a house, they can place a lien on your home, and if you don't own a house, they can contact your employer to garnish your wages to pay towards the taxes owing. Usually there are some warning signs before they will do this, such as contacting you to make payment arrangements. That is why it's especially important not to ignore them, or you could find your wages garnished very quickly. Let's discuss what is protected. There are some exemptions for wage garnishments. If you're receiving social assistance by the government, or disability benefits, or child support, then these can't be garnished by your creditor. If you're an employee of a company, then there's nothing stopping your wages from being garnished. If you're self-employed, you may think you're protected because there's no employer to garnish your wages. Sorry, you are not protected from garnishments. The creditor could use the judgments to seize your company or the personal bank accounts to apply towards your debt. Also be aware the CRA can also take this action too. Before it gets to the stage that a wage garnishment has been issued against you, pick up the phone or send an email to your creditors, explain what's going on and why you've missed these payments. Best to be honest here, and maybe you can work out a deal or a payment plan. Offer a small realistic plan like $50 a week. Often they'll agree to pause legal action if they see you're making an effort. It is when they don't hear from you that they are more likely to start legal action against you. Now, if they already have their garnishment order, they likely won't stop it unless you pay them in full, as they have little motivation at this point. However, it doesn't hurt to contact them to see if you can work out a payment plan, or maybe you could borrow from a family member to pay off the debt sooner. If negotiating with a creditor doesn't work, a consumer proposal is your next best option to immediately stop the wage garnishment. Under the Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act, once you file a consumer proposal with a licensed insolvency trustee, all legal actions against you, including wage garnishments, stop immediately. This is a good option if you have other debts which you're also having trouble paying off. In a consumer proposal, you're basically making a formal contract with all your creditors to pay a set amount every month to the trustee, and the trustee will pay this money to each creditor based upon the amount they are owed compared to your total debts. The original amount you propose may not get accepted, but the trustee will help you negotiate with your creditors to an agreeable amount. Hopefully the amount agreed to is less than what you are being garnished. So, once you sign the consumer proposal with the trustee, they will immediately inform all your creditors, including your employer's HR department, to advise them to stop garnishing your wages. Going forward, you will go back to receiving your full paycheck. It will stay this way as long as your consumer proposal is active. And when the proposal is completed, then the debt will be discharged. If your proposal becomes annulled for any reason, your creditor's debts become active again, so the garnishment will start again. Back to my earlier example of a client getting garnished for his $10,000 credit card, we were able to prepare a consumer proposal for him, which the creditors approved. He had debts totaling $40,000, and we were able to get all the debts reduced by $15,000 by paying only $250 for 5 years. This was much less than the amount garnished from his paycheck. If a consumer proposal is not the best option for your debts, then the final option to stop the wage garnishment is a bankruptcy. Like a consumer proposal, once you file for bankruptcy, all legal actions, including wage garnishments, are immediately stopped. The licensed insolvency trustee will send a copy of your bankruptcy to all creditors and your HR department to stop the wage garnishment. But there's a trade-off here for doing this. It may have a longer and worse impact on your credit score. You may have to surrender non-exempt assets like a house or a vehicle to the trustee, and may still have to make high monthly payments towards your creditors. That's why it's best to speak to a licensed insolvency trustee to see what options are best for your financial situation. Now you know how wage garnishment works in Canada, what's protected, and exactly how to stop it, whether through negotiation, a consumer proposal, or bankruptcy. Now you're ready to lock in your protection and rebuild your financial life. Click over to our next video, What is a Consumer Proposal?, where I will explain what it is and whether it's a good option for reducing your debts, including the advantages and disadvantages, so you can make an informed decision if this is the best option for you to become debt-free.